Hello everybody, this is Monty with Flowers by the Bunch. Today I need to put together a casket piece. This casket piece is going to be for a gentleman, and they asked that we do maroon and white flowers. So what I've done is this is what we call a casket saddle. It's just a plastic piece that I have taped fresh floral foam into. The foam has been soaked, and so I take 4 different bands of tape and tape it in 4 different places to make sure that just in case one band breaks, it's not a big deal, it's not going to fall apart. It's very, very important that you make sure your mechanics are really well put together. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of leather leaf. This is just leather leaf foliage, and I am going to green out my floral foam. I'm going to take my floral knife and I am just going to cut that greenery at an angle. And I am just going to tuck it all the way around in this saddle. Now, a lot of times we will use jade or palm branches. We are out of palm, and so I am going to just use leather leaf today. Really, any foliage will work. What you're doing is you're just making sure that you cover that floral foam. I've got some more pretty foliage that I'm going to add to it, but this is just giving us enough greenery to cover the foam. We just want to make sure that all of these mechanics are covered. And with this leather, you can take your knife and cut it apart. You can cut it in half and use it in 2 different pieces. So you don't have to throw away, you don't have to pull some of the fronds off and throw it away. You can always cut it in 2 different pieces and use it in 2 different places in the arrangement. So like this one, I just popped it in half. And then I'm able to use it in 2 separate, that one had a bump on the greenery, so I just pulled that off. But go ahead and try to use as much of it without throwing it away as possible. And that's going to save you money, okay? So when it's too large of a piece, I'm trying to find a large piece. So see, it's a little large, so I'm gonna take it and pop it in half. I'm going to use that piece there, and then this piece is just going to fill in the top. And that way you're not wasting any of your foliage. Okay, I'm going to set this, the rest of my leather leaf to the side, and I'll have it to use as a backup when I need it. So I'm going to set it over here on my table. Next, I'm going to come in with a little bit of myrtle. So I love myrtle foliage. It smells so pretty, and it's just really nice looking. This is going to give us some length, so I'm going to set it. I'm going to take it and I'm going to cut it in half. Now I have 2 different pieces that I can add to my arrangement. Now the one thing about myrtle is it's a little bit woody. The stem itself is a hard stem, so it's a little woody. Sometimes it's hard to cut with your floral knife, so you might need some snips. So me as a designer, I don't love snips. I feel like they take too much time to work with, because you pick up, you lay down, you pick up, you lay down, and that drives me crazy. And I've used a knife for so long that it's hard to use a pair of snips. Now, of course, sometimes when working with things that are really woody like this, I will use some snips to cut. But as long as you have a pretty sharp knife, you're pretty good to go. So you see how this myrtle is giving us a little bit of shape. It kind of gives us some shape. It's pretty, it's masculine, it smells good. All right, so there's enough myrtle. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of Israeli ruscus. You've seen me use it a good bit. Israeli ruscus is an inexpensive foliage, and so it goes a long way for a little bit of money, and it's going to give us a pretty texture. A little bit of a different color green, which is nice to add a little bit of a different color. Gives us a little bit of variety to our arrangement. And you can see I'm kind of taking it and cutting it a little short. I've got a couple of little leaves on there. I'm going to go ahead and tuck those 2 little leaves in there. It's not hurting a thing. Okay, so my foliage is in place. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to start adding flowers to our casket cover. So the first flower I'm going to use is white stock. I'll get it out of my little bucket over here. Okay, white stock is a line flower, and really it's pretty chunky for a line flower. It's a little mass, but it works perfectly as a line flower. Now, when I tell you something is a line flower, see how it's in a line more than it is in a round or a focal. See, that's a focal flower, and this is a line flower, okay? So this is going to give us length in our arrangement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay these over here, and I am going to start adding my white stock to my arrangement. So I'm going to put one in the center, one on each end. And then I have one stem left. So I'm going to just put him kind of right there in the front. So that's 10 stems of white stock. Next, we're going to come in with Safari Sunset. Again, this is, I don't know if I said this earlier, but this is a maroon and white casket cover for a gentleman's funeral. And so Safari Sunset really works perfectly for that maroon color. So I have 10 stems of Safari Sunset. Safari Sunset's also a little bit of a woody stem. So if you see me having to work a little bit to cut that stem, it's because that stem is kind of woody. It's a hard stem. You know, some flowers have really soft stems, but Safari happens to be one of those that's a little tough. Now, Safari Sunset is actually in the Protea family. We really like it here because our college, our local school, is maroon and white is their color scheme. And so Safari Sunset is a perfect flower for our college color. I'll move this one down just a little bit. All right, so there is my 10 stems of Safari Sunset. I'm going to adjust this camera just a little bit, and that way you can see the entire arrangement. Okay, so there is our Safari Sunset. Next, we're going to come in with our white hydrangeas. Now, a white hydrangea is a large mass flower. And so a mass flower is going to fill up space. It takes up space, okay? I'm going to take this flower, I'm going to remove some of this foliage. I'm going to cut it at an angle with my floral knife. And I'm going to dip it in Quick Dip. Quick Dip is just a hydrating solution that keeps this hydrangea fresh. And I am going to tuck that hydrangea right deep down into that arrangement. Now, I don't use hydrangeas a whole lot for a funeral, but I really enjoy using them, but I don't use them a whole lot for funerals. But I really like the way they take up space. They fill up space and they add color. And I love that about a hydrangea because it does that in any big arrangement. Now in our cooler, we like to leave the plastic sleeves on the blooms because if in case the flower touches the side of the cooler, that plastic gives a barrier between the cold cooler and the flower. And so it just kind of saves it. So that's the reason we always leave the sleeves on our hydrangeas. It's not necessary if you don't want to. You don't have to leave the sleeves. We just happen to do that here at our shop. All right, so we have our hydrangeas in place. Next, I have some white mums. So these are large white mums. So they are going to fill up a lot of space also. So this is what we would call a focal flower. You see how it's a round, pretty flower. So it's like little faces. So I'm gonna take and I'm gonna strip the foliage off that stem. I'm gonna cut it at an angle and I am just going to tuck him right there into this arrangement. And I am taking each of these blooms and I'm going all over this arrangement. So there's really not, you can see how there's color all the way through the arrangement. You've seen me make arrangements if you've watched any of our videos here on YouTube. You have seen me make arrangements where I used color blocking and I did white here, maroon here, white there. Well, with this arrangement, it's just an all the way around. We're just filling in all of the space with all of the flowers. So it's kind of just a mixed flower arrangement. I really like a mom flower because it's long lasting. And they fill so much space. I think if there was a perfect funeral flower, the mum is a perfect flower because it fills up a lot of space and it's a lovely flower. Okay, the mums are in place. Next we will come in with some roses. I have got some beautiful red heart roses. Now the wonderful part about the red hearts are they're a really deep red, so they pull a burgundy color. And so we're going to tuck some of these beautiful hearts in. Now, I'll tell you another thing about a heart. It's an open rose. It opens up really big. It gets really showy, and I love that. It's got a really large petal count, and it's long lasting, and so that's great too. So I'm going to take these roses, and we are going to tuck them into this arrangement. Now, I have already taken and wired each of these roses. So you're going to see me just cut them and tuck them into the arrangement. Now I personally, and you've heard me say this a dozen times, I know, I like to wire my roses. And I don't think I cut that guy short enough. But that just helps me guarantee that they're going to stay pretty for longer. And so it's very important to me that you have the longest lasting flowers that I can provide. And so that's my reasoning behind wiring roses. Now, not all flower shops do that, and that is completely okay. You have to do what you think is right in your flower shop, and I just like the fact that this gives me a little bit of added guarantee here at my shop. It just makes sure that they're gonna stay as fresh as they can for as long as they can. Ooh, these roses are so lovely. I think they're gonna make this arrangement. And see how large of a flower it is? It's just a really large, very, very pretty rose. And you see how well this rose blends with that maroon. It really works really well with the maroon, I think. And, okay, so next we have hypericum berries. Now these hypericum berries, we've actually taken and popped them with a little bit of Just for Flowers flower paint, just to make them a little bit more maroon. So they came here kind of reddish, more of a brick red versus a deep red, a deep maroony color. And so we just took some Just for Flowers floral paint and popped them with a little bit of maroon paint. That way they're going to blend really well into our arrangement. Hypericum berries come in lots of colors. They do come in a true maroon. But when I ordered hypericum berries, I just ordered a mixed box, which is really nice. A mixed box is going to have lots of colors in it, so I'm not going to have all red berries in February. I'm going to have some whites and some greens. My mind said it was March, and it's not quite March yet, is it? So I'm going to have some whites and some greens and some coral color, which is really nice because it's going to give me enough variety that I could do a spring colored arrangement. And I don't feel like it has to be a winter arrangement. So I'm just taking these berries and I'm popping them. And I am just tucking them here and there in this pretty arrangement. All right, one more stem. Now to finish this arrangement, I have got some yin yang daisies. They're just little white daisies that have a little dark center. So I've taken these yin yang daisies. I like their little dark centers, and I feel like they are a little more masculine than a traditional daisy that has the sweet little yellow centers. So that's the reason I chose the yin yang. But they're just tiny little sweet daisies. And what they're going to do is they're going to lighten up this arrangement and just give us a little touch of extra. So I'm taking them and cutting them at an angle, and I am just going to tuck them throughout this arrangement. So if you would, some of these little flowers are broken. I'm just going to take and strip that stem, cut it at an angle, and tuck it right into the arrangement. Strip it. And you see how it kind of lightens this arrangement up. And honestly, in my opinion, it kind of makes it a little more springy. It's not quite so wintry. This red just comes off so winter. Or this burgundy color seems really wintry, I think. And so I think these little daisies are just going to lighten it up a little bit. Now when there are some blooms that are broken, just go ahead and remove that stem so it doesn't look like a stem with no flower on it. Just go ahead and be sure to cut that stem off. Now with an arrangement like this, you can always add ribbon if you would like. Now I am not going to add ribbon to this arrangement because quite honestly it's really full and really pretty. I don't think that it needs any extra fullness. And honestly, I really like the foliage showing. I think it's a pretty foliage. So last, to finish off this arrangement, I am going to take a mixed bouquet of foliage. Now, this mixed bouquet has a little bit of aspidistra. It's got some grasses and it has some different foliages. So I'm going to add this. So I'm going to take my knife, I'm going to cut that little band, and we're just going to tuck in just a little bit of this foliage just to give us a little bit of variety. So this is an aspidistra leaf. I think aspidistra leaves look so masculine and pretty. So I'm just going to tuck a few of those stems in there. And then this is variegated pittosporum. So I'm going to actually pop it, and I am going to tuck it. I'm going to get it to pop. I'm going to tuck it down deep. And what it's going to do is lighten up right down in the center. Like there's some little dark places down in there. So that pit's going to just give us a little bit of lightness to it. Popped a little here. All right, and then last we're going to add a little bit of this grass. I'm going to set this extra foliage to the side. Now what this grass is going to do is just give us a little bit of movement in this arrangement. So I'm just going to take it, and I am just going to tuck it I'm going to split it in half, so I'm going to have two separate bundles. I'm going to grab a floral pick. I'm going to grab a floral pick. So this is a Koi wood pick. I'm going to take this greenery, and I am just going to wrap this little wire right around that grass. And then I am just going to tuck it in to give our arrangement just a little bit of movement. All right, and there you have it. There is a casket piece for a gentleman's funeral. Guys, thank you so much for being here with me this afternoon and watching as I put this arrangement together. If you have any questions about how we do things around here, don't hesitate to ask those in the comment. And be sure to check us out on our other social media outlets. We are on Facebook, and we're also over on TikTok. So check us out over there. Guys, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to our channel right down below. If you'll hit that little bell, it is going to give you notifications when we put up a new video. Guys, you have a wonderful afternoon, and we will see you real soon.